The ground was silent under Captain Jason Senex's boots. Dust covered everything, the broken buildings, shattered glass, and the burned metal of what was once a proud city. The war had ended just 2 weeks ago, but this place still smelled of smoke and sadness. Jason was part of a special team sent by the United Earth Alliance. Their job was to search the old battlefields for any signs of life or danger. But so far, all they had found were empty streets and silence. He walked carefully through the ruins, scanning with his handheld device. It beeped now and then, picking up weak signals but nothing strong. The Valari city had been almost completely destroyed during the final strike. No one expected to find survivors, but something didn't feel right. Jason stopped in front of a large, half-broken building. Its top floors had collapsed inward, and part of its wall had a strange blue glow, the kind only Valari technology gave off. He raised his scanner. The signal was weak but steady. Could be a power cell, he said aloud, mostly to himself. Still, something about the reading made him curious. He stepped through the broken entrance. Inside, the air was cold and still. Shattered glass crunched under his boots. The ceiling above creaked softly. It had been an observatory, a place for the Valari to study the stars. Now the telescope lay twisted on the floor like a fallen tree. Then he heard it, a soft sound, a cough, faint but real. Jason's eyes widened. He moved fast, pulling debris aside with his hands. Under a bent piece of metal, he saw a small space, barely enough for someone to crawl into. He aimed his flashlight. There, a figure, curled, up in the darkness. Human or Valari? He whispered. He looked closer. Her skin was a pale, glowing gray. Her hair, white and fine like silk, was tangled with dust. Her body was thin and weak, but her chest rose and fell. She was alive, and definitely Valari. Jason lowered his weapon. She didn't look like a soldier. No armor, no weapons. Just a long torn robe and bruises across her arms. "Hey," he said, his voice soft. "Can you hear me?" The woman flinched. Her eyes opened slowly, large, silver, and full of fear. She tried to sit up but groaned and held her side. Jason raised both hands in peace. "I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at him for a long time. Then, in broken galactic standard, she spoke. "Human. I thought, all gone." Jason blinked. Her voice was quiet but clear. She wasn't a soldier. She was a survivor. "You're the first Valari I've seen alive since the war ended," he said. She looked down. "Most did not make it." Jason stepped closer. "Can you move?" She shook her head. "Ribs broken, maybe." Jason knelt beside her and pulled out a small medical kit. "I can help." She didn't resist but watched him with cautious eyes. As he wrapped a support band around her waist, she spoke again. "My name is Ilaris. I was not fighter. I studied stars. I tried to stop war." Jason nodded. "I'm Captain Jason Senex. I'm not here to fight either. The war's over." A silence hung between them for a moment. "Why help me?" she asked. Jason paused. "Because you're alive. That's enough reason." Ilaris closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed a little. She was still in pain, but calmer now. Jason gently lifted her into his arms. She was light. Too light. Months of hiding, hunger, and fear had taken their toll. Outside, the sun was low in the sky. Long shadows stretched across the ruins. Jason sent a message to his shuttle. "One survivor found, injured, non-hostile, request evac." He looked down at the woman in his arms. "I've got you," he said quietly. Ilaris whispered something, but he couldn't understand it. It was in her native language, soft and musical, a language once feared by many. But now it just sounded tired. Jason didn't need to understand the words. He just kept walking. The small shuttle flew low above the ruins, its engines humming softly. Inside, Jason sat beside Ilaris, who lay on a padded bench with a light blanket over her. She was silent, her eyes half open, watching him carefully. Her breathing was slower now, but she still looked weak. Jason checked the medical screen. Her injuries were serious, but not life-threatening. 2 broken ribs, light internal bleeding, and dehydration. The scanner also showed signs of stress, both physical and emotional. "You're lucky," Jason said quietly. "Another few days and we might not have found you." Alaris didn't reply. She just watched him with those large silver eyes, strange, beautiful, and hard to read. He smiled a little. "Do you understand what I'm saying?" She nodded slowly. "Yes. Your words, not easy. But I listen." Jason leaned back in his seat. "We'll be at the outpost soon. It's safe there." Alaris turned her head slightly. "Safe. For me?" Jason hesitated. "It should be, but not everyone feels the same way I do. Some still hate the Volari." Her gaze dropped. "I understand. We made mistakes." Jason studied her face. She didn't speak like a soldier. No pride. No sharp words. She seemed honest, tired, human in her own way. He decided to ask the question that had been on his mind. "Why were you in that building?" Alaris looked out the small window. The red sky reflected in her eyes. "I worked there. Before the war. I watched the stars. I searched for things coming from far space. Warnings." Jason frowned. "Warnings?" She nodded slowly. "We thought something was coming. From outside this galaxy. Something dark. That's why we built machines, weapons. Not to fight humans, but to protect all life." Jason sat up straighter. This was new. The human intelligence reports had said the Volari attacked first, no reason given. "You mean the Volari didn't want to fight us?" he asked. Alaris shook her head. "Not all. Many were afraid. When humans came closer, some thought you were the danger. Others, like me, said no. But fear grows fast." Jason was quiet. Fear. He understood that. It had started wars before. Not just between species, but between human nations too. "You tried to stop it?" he asked. "I voted against war," she said softly. "But I was one voice, not enough." Jason nodded slowly. "That must have been hard." Alaris closed her eyes. "I lost my brother. He flew a ship. He believed the war was right. I did not." We stopped speaking. Jason felt a tightness in his chest. War had taken so much from so many. Families torn apart. Lives ended too soon. "You're not alone," he said quietly. "A lot of people lost someone, even those who didn't fight." Alaris opened her eyes again and looked at him. For a moment they said nothing. Just silence, but not empty. A kind of understanding passed between them. Different worlds, different species, but the same pain. Jason broke the silence. "You speak good galactic standard." Alaris gave a weak smile. "Learned from your broadcasts, old movies, songs." Jason chuckled. "So you know what popcorn is, but not a med kit?" Her smile grew slightly. "Yes. Also, pizza." Jason laughed gently. It was the first time he had laughed in weeks. The shuttle beeped. They were near the outpost. Jason stood and helped her sit up a little. The blanket slid off her shoulders, revealing more bruises along her arms. He looked away, respecting her space. "When we land, I'll make sure you get proper care. Don't worry." Alaris touched his arm lightly. "Thank you, Jason Cenex." Her touch was warm, gentle, not something he expected from someone once called enemy. "Call me Jason," he said. She nodded. "Then, call me Alaris." The shuttle slowed as it approached the outpost, a small but strong structure in the middle of the wasteland. Soldiers walked outside, their armor shining under the fading sun. Jason glanced at them through the window. "Some of them won't like this," he said quietly. You being here? Hilaris nodded slowly. I know. But you'll be safe, Jason promised. I'll make sure of it. As the shuttle landed, he looked at her again. She was no longer just a Valari, no longer just part of the enemy. She was Hilaris, a person with a story, a soul, and a past full of sorrow, and maybe a future full of hope. The sky above the outpost was turning dark as night approached. Captain Jason Senex stood outside the main medical room, looking through the glass at Hilaris. She was resting on a clean bed, connected to soft glowing monitors. The doctors had treated her wounds, and she was already looking a little stronger. Still, Jason knew things would not be easy. Not all the soldiers here agreed with helping a Valari, even one who seemed peaceful. Captain, a voice said behind him. Jason turned. It was Lieutenant Mela, one of the few officers he trusted. I heard about the survivor, she said. Command wants a full report. I'll write it tonight, Jason replied. She's not a threat. Mela crossed her arms. Some people won't see it that way. I know, Jason said quietly. But she might know something important. Mela raised an eyebrow. Like what? Jason looked through the glass again. She said the Valari were watching the stars for something dangerous, something not human, and not Valari either. Mela's eyes narrowed. Are you saying the war was a mistake? I'm saying we might have missed the bigger picture, Jason said. That night, after most of the base was asleep, Hilaris called for Jason. Her voice came through the SM, all-wall speaker. I need to show you something, she said. It cannot wait. Jason entered her room where she sat up, her back resting against a pillow. She looked better than before, but her eyes were serious. There is a place nearby, she said. Old Valari tech, a beacon. It can send messages far, across star systems. Jason frowned. Why didn't you mention this before? I didn't trust you, she said honestly. Now I do. Jason nodded slowly. Where is it? In the mountains, 3 hours from here by land, she replied. It's hidden, under rock, safe from attack, but almost forgotten. Jason hesitated. Do you think it still works? If it does, she said, we can send a warning, a true one, proof of what the Valari saw coming. Jason thought for a moment. Taking her outside the base would be risky. She was still weak, and if anyone found out, it could cause problems. But something inside him said this was right. I'll get a transport ready, he said. We go at sunrise. At dawn, Jason and Hilaris left in a small rover. He had told the guards they were going to scan for leftover Valari tech. Not a full lie, but not the full truth either. The mountains rose ahead, sharp and cold. Wind moved across the rocks like whispers. Are you sure you can find it? Jason asked. Hilaris nodded. I worked there once. I remember the path. They stopped near a steep hill. Hilaris pointed to a crack between two boulders. Through there, she said. Jason helped her climb. They moved slowly through a narrow passage until they reached a hidden cave. Inside, the air was dry and warm. Strange symbols lined the walls, glowing softly with a blue-green light. Hilaris smiled for the first time in days. It still breathes. At the end of the cave stood the beacon, tall, metallic, shaped like a tree made of glass and steel. It hummed quietly, still alive after all this time. Jason stepped forward. Can you use it? Hilaris walked to a glowing panel. Her fingers danced across it like she was playing a silent piano. Lights flickered, symbols floated in the air. It is old, she said, but still speaks. Jason watched as the machine came to life. A small map of the stars appeared. Not just this galaxy, but others beyond. One point blinked red in the far corner of the map. That's what you were watching, he asked. Yes, she said. Something moved there, very large, very fast, too fast for a natural thing. We feared it. We still do. She turned to him. Now the humans must know. You must prepare. Jason nodded. Send the message. I'll make sure someone listens. Alaris placed both hands on the beacon. Her voice changed, still soft, but stronger. She spoke in the Valari language, and the machine responded with gentle light. A message was born in that moment, one that would fly through space like a spark in darkness. As she finished, she looked at Jason. It is done. Outside, the wind howled through the rocks, but inside the beacon glowed bright, a light of warning and maybe hope. Jason stepped beside her. Let's get back before someone starts asking questions. As they walked back through the cave, Jason couldn't help but feel that something had changed, not just in Alaris or in himself, but in the path ahead. Something was coming, and this time, humans wouldn't face it alone. The night was quiet at the outpost, but Jason could not sleep. His mind kept turning over Alaris's words and the message they sent from the beacon, a danger far beyond the stars, something neither humans nor Valari had faced before. He looked out the small window of his quarters. The stars glittered in the dark sky, but somewhere beyond them the threat waited. Suddenly his communicator beeped sharply. Jason grabbed it and answered. Captain, you need to come to the briefing room. Now, the voice said. It was Lieutenant Mela again, sounding tense. Jason dressed quickly and moved through the corridors. When he reached the room, several officers stood waiting, their faces grim. Among them was Commander Hargrove, the base leader. Sit down, Captain, Hargrove said without ceremony. Jason took a seat. The commander pointed to the large hollow screen. A recorded message played, a harsh scene from months before, during the war. The screen showed a Valari warship, sleek and glowing, moving fast through space. It fired powerful beams at a human supply ship, which exploded in a brilliant firestorm. The camera then zoomed in on a young Valari woman, Alaris. She was on that ship, Commander Hargrove said quietly. Our enemies called it the Sci-Fi. Attack! Jason's heart clenched. But she told me she was not a fighter. That attack started the war, Hargrove said. Thousands died, and this woman, or someone like her, helped make it happen. Jason's mind raced. Could the peaceful woman in his care be connected to that terrible event? Alaris stood silently beside him, watching the screen too. Jason turned to her. Is this true? Were you part of the Skyfire attack? Alaris's silver eyes filled with pain. She took a deep breath. I was there, she said softly. But not as a soldier. I was a scientist aboard that ship. My job was to study the stars, not to fight. Jason listened carefully. The Skyfire ship was attacked by an unknown. Force first, she explained. We did not want war. We sent warnings to my leaders, but they ignored them. The attack was not our choice. It was fear and misunderstanding. Jason looked down. So the war began because no one listened. Yes, she said. My brother commanded the ship. He believed in fight or die, but I begged for peace. The war stole him from me. Jason reached out and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. I'm sorry, Alaris nodded. I carry ghosts of that night, but I want to stop more death. The room was quiet. Commander Hargrove cleared his throat. Captain, this information changes things. If there is truth to this, we need to rethink how we treat the Valari. Jason stood. It's not just about us. The message from the beacon. There is a threat bigger than our past fights. Agreed, said Mela. But we have orders to destroy all Valari tech in the region. They fear it could be used against us. Jason shook his head. That tech might save us. Commander Hargrove looked at him. Your decision, Captain. But be careful. Not everyone trusts you. Jason nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Later, he returned to Alaris's room. She looked fragile but determined. We have to be ready, she said. What comes next will test us all. Jason sat beside her. Whatever happens, we face it together. Alaris smiled faintly. I thought you would hate me. Jason smiled back, steady and calm. I don't hate you. I believe in what humans can do. Choose hope, even when it's hard. Outside, the stars watched silently, waiting for the next chapter in their story. The sky was heavy with dark clouds as Jason stood outside the command center. The base was on high alert. Word had come that a human strike team was coming, sent to destroy all remaining Volari technology in the sector. The order was clear, no exceptions. Jason's heart pounded. He knew that meant danger for Alaris, and for the hope they had started to build. Inside the medical bay, Alaris sat quietly, wrapping her arms around herself. Jason entered, his face calm but serious. They're coming, he said. Alaris looked up. You will protect me? Jason smiled gently. I will protect you, no matter what. The room felt tense, like the calm before a storm. Outside, soldiers prepared weapons and checked their gear. Jason moved quickly to the communications room to contact his superiors. He spoke with Commander Hargrove. We can't let them destroy the beacon or take Alaris. She has information that could save us all. Hargrove's voice was firm. Orders. Our orders, Captain. You're to follow them. Jason swallowed hard. Sometimes orders need to change. I'm standing by Alaris. The line went silent. Jason looked out the window. The storm clouds now rolled across the sky, rumbling like an angry beast. Suddenly, alarms blared. The strike team is landing, a soldier shouted. Jason grabbed his helmet and rushed to the landing zone. The shuttle touched down hard, dust, rising in thick clouds. The strike team emerged. Soldiers in heavy armor, faces set in grim determination. Their leader, Major Trask, stepped forward. Captain Cena X, Trask called out. We're here to complete the mission, hand over the Volari survivor and destroy any alien tech. Jason stepped forward. Not happening. Trask's eyes narrowed. You're defying direct orders. Jason smiled calmly. I'm doing what's right. Without warning, Trask signaled his team to move in. Jason raised his hands to stop them. Wait. Listen to me. The war was a mistake. Alaris is not the enemy. The real danger is out there. He pointed toward the stars. And only together can we face it. Some soldiers hesitated. The tension was thick. Alaris stepped forward, her voice steady. I know fear made us fight, but I believe in peace. Jason looked at Trask. Help us send the warning. Save lives. For a moment, everything seemed frozen. Then Trask lowered his weapon. Fine, he said. But this is your last chance, Captain. Jason nodded and led the group back to the beacon site. Alaris reactivated the machine, sending the message out into the galaxy, a warning of the unknown threat approaching. As the last signal left the beacon, the sky above lit up with strange lights. The storm broke, rain falling hard on the rocky ground. Jason looked at Alaris and smiled. We did it. Alaris smiled back, her eyes shining. Together. The strike team lowered their weapons, understanding that this was more than just a fight. It was a chance for a new beginning. The outpost was quiet again after the storm passed. Outside, the air smelled fresh, a mixture of rain and earth. Inside the base, however, tension still lingered. Jason sat in a small room guarded by 2 soldiers. He was not under arrest, but no one fully trusted his choice to protect Alaris. The Volari woman rested in a nearby medical bay, still weak but stable. News had spread fast. Many on the base were angry or confused. Some called Jason a traitor. Others wondered if he was brave or foolish. Jason closed his eyes and thought about everything that had happened. He had chosen to believe in hope and trust. That was not easy. Suddenly, the door opened softly. Alaris walked in, her steps slow but sure. She looked at him with silver eyes full of quiet strength. I thought you would hate me, she whispered. Jason smiled softly. I don't hate you. Alaris sat beside him, the faint light making her skin glow. Why? Jason looked, at her and shrugged. Because you are not the war, you are more than what others see. She smiled, a small, hopeful smile. I feared your anger. Anger is easy, Jason said. Understanding is harder. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Alaris spoke again. There is a chance now. For us. For both our peoples. Jason nodded. But only if we trust each other. She reached out and touched his hand lightly. Trust is a seed. It grows slowly. Jason squeezed her hand gently. Then we'll be patient. Outside, soldiers moved through the halls, some watching, them with suspicion. But inside this quiet room, a bridge was forming, between two worlds, two species, and two hearts. Jason stood and looked out the window. The stars shone bright, as if promising a new beginning. Whatever comes next, he said, we face it together. Alaris smiled and whispered, together. The galaxy was quiet now. The message from the Valari beacon had traveled far, reaching places no human or Valari ship could before. Its light crossed stars and planets carrying a warning and a hope. Captain Jason Scenic stood on the outpost's observation deck, watching the horizon. The war was over, but the future was just beginning. Beside him stood Alaris, the Valari, woman who had changed everything. Do you think they will listen? She asked quietly. Jason smiled. They have to, because what's coming is bigger than any war we've fought. Alaris nodded, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. Suddenly, the outpost's communication console beeped. Jason moved to it quickly. The screen showed a fleet of ships, human and Valari, arriving together. It's the Alliance fleet, said Lieutenant Mela, joining them. They heard the message. They're here to help. Jason felt hope rising in his chest. The fleet was a symbol. Proof that two old enemies could become partners. The outpost's commander approached. Captain, this is a new era. Together we will face what lies beyond. Jason looked at Alaris, then at the ships gathering in the sky. We have a chance to build something better. Alaris smiled softly. A future where peace is stronger than fear. Days passed quickly. Humans and Valari worked side by side, sharing knowledge and technology. The outpost transformed into a beacon of cooperation. One evening, Jason and Alaris stood beneath the stars again. Do you regret trusting me? Alaris asked. Jason shook his head. No. You showed me that even in the darkest times there is light. She looked up at the sky. The stars are our story now. Jason smiled and took her hand. And it's just the beginning. Far away, beyond the galaxy, the unknown threat still moved silently. But now humanity and Valari stood together, ready. Together, they would write a future written in stars.